Fortnite is gearing up for the final event for Chapter 6 Season 2. Before the live event, I want to recap everything that has happened this season, leading up to this event. So sit down and grab yourself a snack because there's a lot to cover in this video. How did it start? It started with the final duel from last season, the Shogun versus Diego. Kendo and the Looper entrusted the enchanted blades to Night Rose, whom they have briefly freed from the grip of the puppeteer. But in a twist of fate, she passed those weapons on to Diego, who took up the blades and challenged the demon warlord Shogun X in a desperate bid to save Jade. Though grievously wounded in the battle, Diego ended up triumphant, striking down Shogun X and sending his dark essence spiraling back into the demon portal. The sheer force of his defeat caused the portal to erupt, spewing molten gold across the mountainside in a blinding explosion. At the same moment, the Night Rose was finally freed from her curse just before this duel. Before the duel, it had been revealed that the Shogun X was the one who bound her to the puppeteer this whole time. With his death, that dark tether was severed, but as the dust settled, Diego had vanished, nowhere to be found. Jade, watching the gold shimmer across the peaks, fearing that its presence would only draw further chaos to the island. And was she right? The rise of Crime City. Following the confrontation event, the Spirit Realm portal began to pulse with golden energy, transforming the surrounding landscape in its wake. Seizing this moment, Baron Fletcher Cain, an old associate of Midas, moved quickly. Recognizing the untapped potential of the mystical gold, Cain found the Alpha Mining Company, gaining a monopoly over gold extraction in the newly shifty Shaft's mine. With his wealth growing at an unexpected rate, Cain expanded his influence by establishing banks across various towns and major cities, including Crimson City, a thriving metropolis he found himself. But Cain's ambitions reached even further. He built a lavish resort on a mansion, cementing his image as the island's most powerful and dangerous crime lord. However, his imminent stockpile of gold did not go unnoticed. Rival criminals swarmed to Crimson City, drawn by greed and the promise of power. The city's streets, once pulsed with ambition, quickly descended into chaos. As the criminal underworld clashed, Crimson City became known by a new name, being Crime City. What followed was an all-out war for control, with Cain locked in a brutal struggle against the very underworld he helped create. The battle for gold had begun, and there would be no peace until one kingpin stood on top. Outlaws on the rise. To support the growing outlaw movement, Skillet, Joss, and Keisha Cross established a network of black markets across the island. These underground hubs served as more than just weapons and gear suppliers. They became a safe haven for criminals to gather, unwind, and form powerful new alliances. One such alliance included the mysterious return of Midas, a legendary figure known by many, Cassidy, his biggest fan, among them. Unlike the others, Midas had a curious approach. He was always helping people for free. This raised suspicions, particularly from Josh and Skillet, who began questioning what his true motives might actually be. Meanwhile, Skillet, freshly adopted the title King of the Boom, began stepping out of retirement in bursts of calculated chaos, plotting in the shadows of Crime City's black market. He devised a bold plan to rob Lone Wolf's lair of its own riches, then blow it to ruins with his signature flair for explosives. Wanted Skillet. The player is contacted by Skillet for a high-stakes job, but before trusting them with the real prize, Skillet demands a show of skill after successfully stealing a stash of gold. The player earns a new nickname, Ratso. To prove themselves even further to him, the player uses thermites to blast open a bank vault and claim its treasures. An explosive test run that earns Skillet's approval. With trust secured, the two team up to sabotage Fletcher Cain's payphones, cutting off all communication and blocking reinforcements. Their sabotage clears the way for Valentina, infamously known as the Robber Queen, to infiltrate Cain's personal vault. While she makes her move, the player creates a diversion, drawing the attention of the Alpha Guards. Inside the vault, they stumble upon an old assortment of collars and puppy chew toys, but ultimately leave those behind. Instead, they split the real prize, the gold, walking away richer and deeper into the criminal web surrounding Crime City. Wanted, Joss. Josh, a brilliant mind obsessed with chemistry and the science, refuses to accept the popular belief in the island's so-called magic. To her, everything, even the strange birth of Big Dill and the golden energy pouring from the Spirit Realm portal, must have a logical explanation. Intrigued by the Looper's unorthodox approach, Joss recruits them as her assistant in uncovering the truth. Their first assignment, study Big Dill. The player tracks down the walking pickle and helps him gather old music records, and Pop opens a bottle of brine, kicking off a full-blown power in Crime City to observe him in his natural habitat. After the wild gathering, Josh concludes Dillinger isn't a miracle, he's just a party animal in a pickled body. Still chasing answers, Josh turns her attention to gold's potential impact on biology. She sends the player to recover DNA samples from a few individuals. With no signs of contamination in their DNA, she switches tactics, sending the player to collect mineral samples by blasting apart rock formations operations with a plasma burst laser. Back at her black market lab in Magic Moses, the analyst is finally complete. The result? Just an ordinary gold ore. Joss is left speechless, but not convinced. Despite the lack of answers, she remains determined. There has to be a scientific reason behind all of it. Baron's escalation tax. Greedy for even greater riches, Baron Fletcher Cain, the self-proclaimed alpha wolf, seized control of the Outlaws vending machine system, imposing a staggering 100% tax increase on all previous available items. While Cain's tax sparked outrage across the island, the black market shops remained untouched. Keisha Cross, one of the black market's key operatives, refused to follow suit, calling the market a community good and a necessary stand against the Baron's exploitation. In this time of rising prices and corruption, the black market became a symbol of rebellion, offering fair trade in the shadow of Cain's greed. The Golden Gunslinger and the rebellion against Cain. Midas, the legendary criminal mastermind, has returned, this time with one goal. That goal being to take down his old rival and former associate, Baron Fletcher Cain. Alongside his formidable right-hand man, Brutus, Midas aligns himself with the Outlaws running the black market, ramping up weapon supplies in preparation for a full-scale uprising. The Golden King reaches out to the player, impressed by their feats during Chapter 5 Season 2, and assigns a series of missions to gauge their loyalty and skill. Though Midas sees potential in the player and chooses to bring them into his circle, he also remains cautious. Trust is earned, not given. Meanwhile, Cain's crushing tax hikes ignite rebellion across the entire island. Outlaws rise up in defiance, and a movement begins to form. As Midas leads the charge and his legend spreads, the people crown him with a new title, the Golden Gunslinger, a symbol of rebellion, vengeance, and the gold field war to come. Wanted, Midas. After a major hit on Cain's vault network, the player officially earned their place with the Outlaws faction and caught the attention of Midas once again. To test their loyalty, Midas first assigned a series of covert shadow briefings, followed by a mission to bribe and rally outlaws using bars. The goal? To unite the scattered factions under Midas's leadership in the growing rebellion against Fletcher Cain. With the player's loyalty proven, Midas entrusts the player with something even more personal. He had a hunch, one tied to their shared past in Reality Zero. Midas tasked the player with analyzing residual energy near the shattered Spiral Realm portal using a specialized sensor backpack. The results were clear and chilling. Traces of the 0 point had resurfaced. Realizing the stakes were higher than ever imagined, Midas sent the player to Diego's lair, recently reactivated. There, they were to steal a copy of Diego's mask-making tome. Midas suspected that Diego, too, was hunting the 0 point shard, and had oddly aligned himself with Fletcher Cain, supplying his forces with masks of power. Midas shared the truth. Many were after the shard, Diego, Cain, and yes, even himself. But for now, he and the player shared a common goal, preventing the shard from falling into the wrong hands. Midas even agreed, if necessary, to work with the player's allies, which were Jones and Hope. Despite their complicated past, the race for the 0 point shard had begun, and the Golden Gunslinger was all in. Legendary Outlaw, the player. The player's relentless efforts to unite the scattered Outlaws factions paid off. Their reputation soared, earning them the prestigious Legendary Outlaw key card. This key card was a symbol of trust and authority within the Outlaw ranks, granting full access to all black market services across the island. In a private meeting, Midas acknowledged the player's hard-earned success. He admitted that bringing together such a chaotic mix of outlaws, each with their own goals and grudges, was a thankless and near impossible task, and yet it worked. With momentum building and the Outlaws finally moving as one, Midas saw a real shot at bringing down Fletcher Cain for good. Surprisingly, Midas remarked with a smile, he intends to thank the player, not just for his loyalty, but for becoming the symbol of the resistance. The war for the island was far from over though, but thanks to the player, the tides were finally beginning to turn. Wanted, Keisha Cross. As Cassidy Quinn gears up for their daring heist, part of Midas's plan to keep Fletcher Cain distracted, her best friend, Keisha Cross, reaches out to the player. Before trusting them with anything big, Keisha puts the player to the test by having them assist Cassidy directly. Their mission? To steal Cain's personal whiplash. With Cassidy already having swiped the keys, the duo sneaks into Cain's private garage. The Looper takes the wheel, while Cassidy rides shotgun, and together they blaze off into the night, trading sharp words and laughs as the engine roars behind them. Later, Keisha talks to the player with intercepting Cain's communications. During the surveillance, they overhear Cain's furious response to the whiplash theft, and much more. They uncover that Cain has been delivering gold to Diego, that Midas is making major moves, and that a mysterious machine is being installed at Diego's workshop. The pieces of the puzzle are falling into place, and Keisha, Cassidy, and the player are right in the middle of this storm. Espionage continues. The player's surveillance of Fletcher Cain's communications deepens, and so do the revelations. They overhear Cain expressing his intent to finally eliminate Midas once and for all, seeing him as too great of a threat to ignore any longer. But the plot thickens as the player uncovers the full extent of Cain's alliance with Diego. Cain has granted Diego unprecedented authority, allowing him to command Alpha Guards and fortify his workshop with elite protection. In return, Cain supplies Diego with gold, fuel for a dangerous bargain. Diego in turn promises to give Cain the power he craves. With each intercepted message, it becomes clearer that Cain isn't just building wealth, he's preparing for something far more dangerous. Wanted, Baron. With suspicious mounting, Midas tasks the player with uncovering the full extent of Fletcher Cain's schemes. The first stop, Lone Wolf Lair. There, they discover classified documents detailing research on the 0-point shard, an alarming revelation. Their next destination was Cain's vault, but instead of the usual stockpile of gold bars, they found it eerily empty. Even more unsettling was a mysterious mask was displayed on the wall, one that the player immediately recognized. Realizing the situation was escalating, Midas ordered the player to gear up with specialized equipment. Cain had to fall, and for that to happen, the player needed to survive. The next mission, eliminating Cain's lieutenants. Midas suspected one of them carried secret orders, and was he right? Intercepting the documents, the player discovered that the missing gold was delivered to a mysterious collaborator, and Midas quickly identified them. To confirm his theory, Midas had the player ambush gold convoys, tracing their route straight to the masked workshop. Upon arrival, the very air turned hostile. A dark fog clung to the ground, making the player's skin crawl, an omen that the island itself disproved of what was going on. Inside the lair, they found a twisted mask forging machine, radiant with malevolent energy. Venturing deeper, they finally uncovered the truth. Diego had been using Cain's gold to forge a mask powerful enough to pierce the spirit realm and extract the 0-point shard. When the player returned with this intel, Midas finally pieced it all together. Diego had been outfitting Alpha with masks of power, and in return, promised by Cain, godlike strength. But Midas knew Diego too well. Betrayal was inevitable. There was no time left. Both Diego and Cain had to be stopped, even if it meant Midas would have to work with the player's so-called hero allies. The future of the island and the 0-point shard hung in the balance. Diego's fate. Seeking isolation and secrecy, Diego and Fletcher Cain relocated to a remote riverbank in Magic Moses, where they began reconstructing the Shattered Demon portal, that same portal Diego had once used to rescue Jade after his battle with Shogun X. With Cain now acting as his personal bodyguard, Diego poured his energy into manipulating the portal, determined to breach the spirit realm once again. He was convinced that only he could save the island, no matter the cost. As his dark ritual progressed, the portal pulsed with unstable energy. A brilliant beam of light erupted from the structure, piercing the sky and growing stronger with each passing moment. But this surge of power did not go unnoticed. High above, a mysterious spacecraft emerged from the clouds, silently entering orbit as if it answered a call or was issuing a warning. Diego's actions had begun to draw attention from beyond the island, setting the stage for a conflict far greater than he had ever anticipated. And now, guys, we wait for the live event this weekend. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think is going to happen during this live event? If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Fortnite videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one.